घड़ी न हटाए पावरती भरी जो मातृभूमि नेपाल को भई वीर पराक्रमी संतति देवी निरागी धरी कुकुर संगीत सरवर हथिया देखिन सामुमा कुकुर संगीत सरवर हथिया देखिन सामुमा नावर से दी तिरी बिहवाने वीर गति छाती मां नावर से दी तिरी बिहवाने वीर गति छाती मां देवी निरागी धरी न हटाए पावरती भरी जो मातृभूमि.
Namaskar, good afternoon. Me D.K. Bastola. I am from Satyanarayana Secondary School. I am present here for teaching English. Dear students, teaching learning goes forever. Now you are watching Makalu television. Teaching learning process. This program has been brought to you through Makalu television by Biratnagar distance learning. This program is fully supported by Biratnagar Metro City in coordination with Nepal Shikshak Mahasangh, PAPSON and NPAPSON Biratnagar. So, today I like to welcome all the concerned students, interested learners and all the viewers to the studio. Some days ago I had started teaching verbs. We can divide verbs in different ways in different groups like auxiliary verb and main verbs. In the beginning I taught you auxiliary verbs. In the second class I taught you the differences between auxiliary verbs and main verbs. Today I like to continue with the detail of main verbs. So the main topic, main concern of today is main verbs. Detail of main verbs. So first of all, dear students, I like to draw your attention on the definition of main verbs. Look on the screen there. The main verb is also called the principal verb. Principal, main, important. This term main verb refers to the important verb in the sentence. In the sentence all the time verb is the important element, the one that shows the action or state of being of the subject. Main verbs can stand alone in sentence. It means without the help of any auxiliary verbs, main verbs can stand on their own to make the sentence, to make it very much meaningful. A verb is a doing word. In another sense we can say main verb is a doing word that shows an action or an event. Now look at the board here with the example. Farmers survive on their own labor. In this sentence, survive is the main verb. This verb has come here alone, single, on its own. Therefore, it is very important. Either you say this, the action word, or you say the doing word. This is the main verb, and this main verb provides us the meaning as the heart of the sentence in the skeleton of the, let's say, sentence structure. So survive is one action verb, action word or doing word. Similarly, let's see another sentence. I have a marker. I have a marker. In this sentence, have, dear students, sometimes it seems to be very much confusing. whether the verb have is an auxiliary verb or the main verb. We have to determine, we have to know, we have to be very much sincere for this, that in the beginning I have told you auxiliary verbs can be divided into different groups, among them primary auxiliary verbs, right? Primary auxiliary verbs. Under primary auxiliary verbs, is, am, are, was, were, do, does, did and have, has, had are put under primary auxiliary verbs, and those primary auxiliary verbs can be used as the main verb as well. So, have is the main verb here in this sentence, but this word doesn't show us the action. So, this is not the action verb in this sense. We can say this is the verb to show the state of being. What does it mean? What is state of being? I have a marker means I am not doing anything. What is the state? What is the situation? The situation is that I have this marker, I have this pen. So, this is known as the state of being. In this way, we can categorize verbs as action word or action verb or state of being verbs. Okay? By these two words, we can say that one word, okay, that can see or the action doing something, action words or doing words, and another verb like this, this is the state of being verb. Okay. Let's go ahead. English verbs have 5 basic forms. Dear students, look on the screen there carefully. Those English verbs or main verbs, okay, can be divided into different groups, different ways, and how do we know, how do we find out, how can we use those main verbs? To know them very well, we can have different, let's say, indicators. Just like the toolkits, you know, with the help of the toolkits, or let's say one tester, we can find out whether there is the electricity current or not. In the same way, we have some tester, or we have some, toolkits to find out main verbs. So here, to know main verbs, we have some basic ideas. See, number one, the base form. Main verbs have base forms. Okay. Later on, I will just describe you by providing you the example here on the board. Second, the main verbs have yes at the end to make the present form. So, this is called yes form. Similarly, the ing form, main verb have ing form. Okay, later on we will discuss about the, let's say, tense as well. For differing the tenses, we can differ the form of the verbs. Fourth one, the main verbs have past form. Generally we say simple past form or V2 form. And fifth basic idea to know whether this is the main verb or not, known as the past participle form. Okay, look at the board once again. How do we know their forms like this? So, number one, we said the main verb has the root form, or this is the base form. So, this is in present tense, root form or base form. And for making it present tense, we can add yes at the end. So, this is present form. Okay. If there is third person singular number subject in the sentence, we use this form, like he eats rice, he eats rice, yes form. Okay. So, root form or base form. Second, the yes form or adding yes to make it present form. Similarly, third base form is ing form. For making continuous tense, in general we can say this is the present participle form. So, it has like this ing form. Next, the past form, ate. The past form of it is ate. This is the root form or this is the base form. from the base form we can change to different other forms, making simple present with the third person singular number adding s. For making ing form or let's say continuous form, in general present participle form, it may be present continuous, it may be past continuous, or maybe present perfect, past perfect continuous. In the continuous form we can add ing here. Similarly, V2 form or simple past form, it becomes ate to make it past tense or second form. And finally, as we have said, there are 5 basic forms of main verbs: eat one form, eats second form, eating, adding ing third form, ate past form or V2 form, and the last one, 5th number is, this is called past participle form or V3 form, like eaten, eaten. In this way, if we try very much minorly to recognize the main verbs, we can analyze those verbs by taking their different forms like this. Similarly, I am going to provide you another example with the verb, let's say come, come. This is also the basic form or let's say the root form of the verb come. Now adding s, second formula or second form adding s, comes, comes. This is also in present tense. We can use this in present tense, like I come to school every day on foot. We come to school regularly. Come, root form or base form. Comes, third person singular number, present form. Similarly, ing, coming, ing form here. Okay. Sometimes, dear students, if you are not very much sincere and careful, you may add ing after the word come and ing. It becomes very much erroneous word. While you are adding ing, remove e and add ing for making this continuous form or ing form, known as the present participle form. Now the V2 form or past form, came. This is the 4th form or let's say past form or simple past form or V2 form. Whatever way you like to get it yourself, just say yourself whether this is V2 form or simple past tense or past simple tense or past form, whatever you say. Now last one is V3 form, again come. So sometimes having such type of words, we may feel some difficulties or we have some confusion. Therefore, we have to know them, we have to analyze them, we have to play with them in different sentences. So come, came, come is the way to know the 3 forms: present form, past form and past participle form of the same verb. Comes is the same present form with yes, coming is the ing form. In this way, we can recognize main verbs with these formulas or these tools or these ways, these elements. Okay, let's go ahead. Similarly, to recognize main verbs by seeing their structure, how they are formed, how they are made. Not all the time only seeing the basic forms, by playing with them, adding some parts with them to change them into let's say present tense or present form, yes form or es form, or maybe from noun to verb. Especially we are talking about main verbs. So previously I provide you some of their ways how they are changed into different forms like this. Similarly, there is another way to know, to recognize their let's say the characters or features, and so that we may be so much confident on main verbs. Main verbs can be recognized or can be made by adding some let's say affixes. Affixes means adding some part after the word. that is suffix, adding some part of the word before the base word known as the prefix. So, suffix and prefix together known as affix or affixes. So, how can we make or let us say recognize the main verbs with the suffix? By adding ify, by adding izd, by adding ate or by adding en, we can change the words or main verbs in another form. If we are able to change those words in another form by adding such suffixes, then we know that they are verbs. Let us say type is there, to make it the verb typify. Characteristics is there, to make the verb characterize. Okay, izd is added, known as the suffix. Similarly, irrigation is the noun word, to make it verb by adding ate, irrigate. And another example is sweet is an adjective, and that sweet can be made verb by adding en and it becomes sweeten. Similarly, if there is the word deep, we can make it the verb by adding en, deepen. Next, the verbs may have, let us say, d or ed or t at the end of the word, then we know that they are also the verbs. For example, the best form of the word is create, and by adding d it has become created. Plant is the basic form, plant is the noun word and verb both, and it can be changed into past form by adding ed, planted. Similarly, another word spent is given here, the root form of that spent is spend, spend, spend. Now by changing that d into t also, we can change them into past tense. In this way we know that they are the verbs because they have d, ed and t at the end. So these ways are known as affixation by adding suffix or by adding prefix with the root form of the verb or basic form of the verb, we can change them into past tense. This is one important way to recognize the verbs, or let us say to analyze the verbs. Similarly, prefix, by adding prefix, how can we make the words? By adding be before the main part of the verb or de or again en before it, we can make new words or let us say the verbs. For example, bestow. In the word bestow, bestow, bestow is here, it is to offer, it is to give. This is the verb. By adding be before the main part of the verb. Similarly, dethrone. Suppose the king is sitting on the throne, to make it, let us say, out, dethrone, by adding de before the verb, we can change it or we can make it verb. Throne is the noun word and dethrone either, okay, we can make the verb. Similarly, courage is the noun word, and by adding en before this noun word, we can make it verb encourage. These are some of the ways to know, to play with the verbs. Similarly, some other verbs. Word, okay, like this, what we said, by adding d, ed or t, we can make the verbs into past tense, we can change them into past tense. But some of the verbs which are known as the strong verbs, they don't have d, ed or t at the end, they are changed into past tense in another way. Generally we say them that by changing the internal vowel letter, we can change them into past tense. For example, drink, root form or base form, past tense, drank. Okay, drink, drank. Similarly, begin became began, past tense. Come, I have already given here, come is changed into past tense by making came, internal vowel letter is changed here. Similarly, rise is the base form of the verb, by changing it into rose, we change it into, let us say, past tense. Similarly, bind, bound, cling, clung, stick, stuck. These are the ways Similarly, by matching the verbs with the number, with the person, and watching the voice and knowing the mood of the sentence and tense too, we can recognize the main verbs. Dear students, move ahead. So I have collected some of the ways still to know about the main verbs. So I have given the title here, functions of a verb. How do we know the verbs? By seeing, by watching, by analyzing their functions. With the functions, how do we know the verbs? See, function number 1, a verb shown on action, a verb shows an action, okay? A verb shows the action. We have already said, suppose the verb walk, we walk it, so there is the action. We write on the board, writing action is there. Mother is cooking, cook is the verb, there is the action. Therefore, verb always show the action. Another, a verb tells us that some act has been carried out by the subject. So, subject-verb agreement should be there. According to the subject, we use the verb. So, if there is the agreement between the subject and the verb, then this is another function, subject-wise function. Third, always forms a tense. So, verb indicates tense. As I have already told you, eat is the base form, ate is the past tense, eaten is the past participle form or verb third form. So, verb has this quality. So, most of the verbs may have the same ways to change into past and past participle, but still what we can say commonly is all the verbs have past forms or past tense. Similarly, future too, okay, if there is a past form, certainly there is by adding yes present form and adding additional auxiliary verb will to make it future tense. For example, I will come, if come is the verb, by adding will we can change it the tense. Next, a verb form shows the time of action or state, okay, situation. If we have written I go to school every day, that every day shows us the time or let us say the aspect as well. Next, a verb form shows duration of action, how long do we do the work, how long do we perform the work, there is the aspect. I have been teaching English for 2 months, certainly there is the aspect. So, in this way verbs show the aspect. Next, a verb form shows speaker's attitude, that is known as the mood. Either this is the subjunctive mood or objective mood, or we can say this is declarative mood or some others, or let us say question mood or request mood. So, in this way with the verb, with the form of the verb, we know the mood of the attitude of the speaker. Similarly, a verb is considered to complete the sentence. Without the verb, there is no completion of the sentence. So, verb is that part to complete the sentence with meaning, with very much sense or sensual okay, sentence. Last time I have told you, verbs can be divided into different groups like physical verbs or physical action verbs and mental action verbs. Similarly, last time I just touched these categories of verbs, main verbs. Main verbs can be divided into let us say 10 types like this, and there is the comparison with another verb. So, there are the 5 pairs: auxiliary and lexical verbs comparison, dynamic and static verbs, finite and non-finite verb, or we can say finite and non-finite verbs, regular and irregular verbs, transitive and intransitive verbs. And still we have another type known as infinitives, but that infinitives come under non-finite verbs. Therefore, if we have the time later on, we will discuss a lot about them. Last time also I had promised you to explain them, but this is only half an hour time. That's why this was only I could today. Dear students, stay home, stay safe, be connected with us, go on watching Makalu television, do a lot of work at home. Namaste and bye-bye.